Testing, testing. One, two, three. And we are live. Welcome back to the JeSpective, where I do cultural commentary, go over some life lessons, and everything in between. Guys, we are back. I know I always say this every single time I'm doing a live stream, because every single time I've been doing a live stream, it has been a while since I did another live stream. So we're going to try to, not do that this time, as I got a slew of content planned out for the week. So today we're going to start with a debate reaction. We're going to go through a common question here, and that is being overweight a choice? So I found this debate from this YouTube channel, Counterpoints. They're kind of like a Jubilee, but they're doing their own thing, and I could appreciate it. They're an up-and-coming channel, and they do have some interesting conversations on there. I think I did a reaction to them one time before, so we're going to do it again today and have a bit of fun. So I guess without further ado, let's get right into it. Giant cans on here. As always, guys, the full video will be in the link in the description below if you want to watch this video without my commentary and my nonstop yapping. All right, I actually pre-watched a little bit of this just to kind of see whether or not it'd be interesting, and I did find it so. So I'm going to bring it back to the beginning, and we'll get right into it. Oh yeah, and as always, I will actually put the speed to about 1.25. I normally do that with these type of discussions because it's very long and folks usually kind of talk slow. So I think at 1.25 at least, we could hear what they're saying, we can understand it, but actually, get through it. And sometimes I will speed it up and slow it down in the middle of the stream. So if you feel like you can't hear them, let me know in the chat. All right, guys, let's keep it going.
People that do not go to the gym or have like a healthy lifestyle are lazy. So far from beyond what I actually live.
I work 14-hour days and I still manage to go to the gym. It'll take a toll on my sleep sometimes, but I have to be willing to take accountability and say, I was lazy at this.
I know a lot of fat folks in my sphere like to reclaim the word fat instead of using words like morbid or obese. They prefer the word fat, and I prefer the word fat because it describes what I am, not a category that doctors are putting me in to describe.
Shout out to you, John. Thanks for letting me know
Welcome
about that.
to Counterpoint. I'm your host, Ryan. On this side, we have gym goers, and on this side, we have supporters of body acceptance. Being fat or skinny is a choice. We'll start by having people that agree come up now.
All right, there's no reason why, now that I think about it, I should have started all over, but I'll just go through my whole spiel again and answer this without the echo this time. Simply put, I think that being fat or skinny or in the middle or whatever you want to see it as is absolutely a choice. What is not a choice is who you are born to. What is not a choice is your genetics. What is not a choice is the environment you are raised in when you are a kid. But beyond that, everything that happens after that is up to you. Whether or not you choose to exercise every day or eat healthy is a choice that you have to make. And so while I agree there are some things beyond your control, and listen, I am not an expert on this stuff completely. This is not my area of expertise, and there's no way I'm going to be able to explain to you the science of some of these differences. But I will say, very simply put, for what it is that you can control, you should control. And you might not have the absolute ideal look that you want, but you can get there by making better choices daily. That being said, you would catch me on the it is a choice side for this one. Let's keep it going.
So I was a wrestler my whole life, constantly dieting my whole entire life. I mean, at this point now, I'm not wrestling anymore, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But I think it just comes down to the fact of it's just a calorie deficit. You want to consume less than what you're burning. Some people might have it easier. I'm not saying that, like some people might find it harder to lose weight, some people might find it easier.
In your experience with the wrestling thing, did you always lose weight when you went into a calorie deficit, or was it different each time?
100%. And it might have been, a little too extreme to where it got to the point where it might have been a little unhealthy. But, at the end of the day, I was losing weight, and it could have been because I had a better metabolism than some people. I could have had an easier route, but at the same time, I mean, anybody can lose weight if you just put your mind to it.
Now, I'm going to say this, just a little disclaimer. I wrestled as well. It sounded like this guy wrestled probably into college and things like that. I only did it in high school, but I will say that sport, or like combat sports in general, you have to normally weigh in at a certain weight in order to compete in a certain weight class, whatever it might be. But but also I just think being in a sport like that kind of puts that mentality on you that you feel like I can just work harder and I can get there if I really push myself. And so you tend to make less excuses, even though there might be legitimate ones. You feel like, well, I can get there. And if I don't, it's pretty much my fault for not working hard enough. So that's kind of what the wrestling mentality gives you. I know where he's coming from is pretty much what I'm trying to say on this one. But yeah, let's keep it going. Oh, shout out to Jorn. Agree with the calorie deficit more than exercise. I did it a bit in high school too. Yeah, I mean, listen, in reality, when it comes to losing weight, it's actually like the working out is really it's like 70% diet. Like that's kind of like really what it is. Working out is important and staying consistent there is important. But if you're trying to lose weight, like you can't get there without eating properly, right? It's really all about creating that deficit and creating I mean, pretty much calories in versus calories out is what it is at a high level. But yeah, I agree. And yeah, no, I feel you on that, Jordan. Now, the wrestling as well. Yeah, I mean, like, I think I remember when I wrestled at one point. It was actually senior year. I was trying to get back to 171 at the time, and originally it was like, let's just eat whatever we want to get there. And for a bit, it worked. But, at some point you have to lock in a little bit just to kind of get back down to the right weight. And then from that point, you're good to go. But yeah, it's grueling. And I think everyone just needs to keep in mind the basics when it comes to this weight loss stuff. But let's keep it going.
Okay. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely a choice. Excluding all the rarities, thyroid conditions, things like that come up. In general, I definitely think that it's everyone's personal choice. Some people do have it harder. I myself, I have a really hard time gaining weight. Super easy for me to kind of drop weight, slim down. But if you're trying to pack on muscle, I feel like I'm eating nonstop constantly.
Yeah, I mean, how much are you eating per day? Like, is it a lot?
I don't count my calories. I just have a rule: if my stomach doesn't feel full, I have to eat.
Okay, fair. And how about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with the majority of what you've said. That you can change your diet and really control what your weight does. I've watched it happen with my own body over the course of my life. I shared my office with a nutritionist for a year and listened to him talk about things. And, it is very true. You can control that. And there are different genetic effects that can have a play on things or different conditions that people might have, like you mentioned. But I think we have to also mention the way that our food system is structured right now. Our food system is designed to keep people unhealthy and to keep people fat.
I'm gonna let him finish, but I got a little gripe with the word designed here. We'll get into that in a second, but let's let him finish up, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Overweight and to try and make people sick and put them into the medical system where then they can fall into the insurance system. We have a system that is stacked against people being healthy. If you look at what people looked like with what they were eating when they ate whole foods, 7,500 years ago, maybe even less. I think it really started after World War II when they learned how to prepackage foods with a bunch of preservatives to get it to the front lines, and that changed the way that our processing of foods was done. And I think since that point, it's become the commodization of the American people. I mean, we're essentially cattle being farmed for all of these different services to compound and rake us for money.
I will say this, just my main gripe with what he said, I don't necessarily disagree, but my main gripe is when he used the word design. And I take issue with that because he brought in like the healthcare system and like how it's like, effectively he's saying it's like sick care and you get people sick so that way you have patients and you aren't necessarily incentivizing better habits, because then how do you I mean, you keep the system going with sick people, right? It's just like he didn't say that, but he said that, right? And I think the problem I have with that is that, like, when you say design, you're almost making it seem like there's a central planning that happened, that took place, that said, we're going to do this, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and then this is all part of the plan. And I think that's not necessarily what happens. I think every single industry just minds itself and cares about itself. So for example, he's talking about like food and preservatives and all these different things. I think, well, like really what just happened there is that food companies and the people who work around trying to keep food on the shelves longer just thought like, how can we, like, when we produce food and it spoils quickly and people don't get to buy it, this is not good for us. So how do we develop the technology to keep the food on the shelves longer? That way people can buy it and we can produce more without, like, it's a math game, right? We're trying to produce as much without it spoiling and it being consumed so that people can buy more. and we want people to have access to it. This whole game that they're trying to balance. And I think, yeah, well, eventually they found out how to make fruit preservatives, and unfortunately, the side effects for some of these things aren't necessarily good for us. Not all of them. Like, again, I'm not going to sit right here and pretend to know more than I do on this stuff, because I don't. But like, if in any areas there are some issues with that type of stuff, I think it's just the companies were looking out for their bottom line, which is how it works. And there are some side effects there. Unfortunately, this is kind of how it goes. Every single company, every single industry is looking out for themselves, looking out for their bottom line, and they try to figure out how is it that they can maximize profits. And sometimes there are benefits, and sometimes there are downsides. I'll tell you this right now. If these companies find a way to make being healthy cheap for them, that's what they will do. They have their incentive is not to make people fat. Their incentive is to make money. If they could find a way to do it, if they can find a way to make money while making people healthier, then guess what? That is exactly what they're going to do. And I tell you, there's a funny new trend I've been seeing in the past couple of years. I've actually been seeing companies with like snacks switch out sugars. There a lot of companies are starting to offer no sugar options now, because I feel like people are becoming a little bit more health conscious, and even companies that typically just sold snacks are trying to like increase the amount of protein in these things because people are looking out for it more. I feel like companies like Quest and things like that have led the way with giving high protein, high fiber snacks that don't taste terrible, and other people are following suit. So again, to wrap up my little rant here, I took issue with the word designed, because he's making it seem like they're designed to make people fat. No, they are designed to make money. People getting fat is just a byproduct. so yeah, I want to go right there. Oh, capitalism. Yep. Jordan, that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. Maximize profit, minimize loss. That is absolutely what every company's trying to do. How they get there is different for every single industry, and the side effects are different for every single industry, and it is what it is. So let's keep it going.
Okay, and I think that's a good time to bring in the rest of us.
I think that there's, like you were saying, there's so many disadvantages and ways of privilege that some people don't have access to, like transportation, healthy foods. If they struggle with their mental health or physical health for any reason, they can't get access to the same kinds of foods to stay healthy or to stay thinner. Just for medical conditions, personally, I have POTS, which makes it hard for me to exercise, and also I need a lot of salt. And when I am thinner, it's harder for me to stay hydrated, so I pass out then. But all of those reasons, it's hard for me to believe that it is a choice.
Okay, can you kind of
See, with what she said, this is where I'm gonna try to tread carefully, because I don't know what it is that she said she has. Did she sound like she said she had POTS? I'm not sure what that condition is, but I guess where I will say is, maybe she's not going to be a person because of her condition that, like, maybe she won't have the look of a model, right? But I think when you try to remove agency for yourself and say that you don't have a choice, a lot of the times it's because you're stuck in a particular mentality that makes it feel like you don't have a choice. And sometimes a fresh perspective allows you to see you had better options. I'll get into that a little bit more later, but I just want to see where they're going to go with this discussion. But that's just my first thought there, and a bit of the issue I take with her saying she feels like it doesn't have a choice.
explain like what POTS is?
Yeah, POTS.
Oh, see, and had I not paused it so damn much, she would have explained it. All right, all right, we'll get into it, and I'll get into my thoughts about what I was talking about that a little bit later. Let's keep it going.
This is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and what that means is when your heart rate rises because your blood pools, and so then you pass out. But it's really important to stay super hydrated and have salt in your system to regulate your blood pressure.
I also have
That's
a medical
terrible,
condition
by
called
the way.
PCOS, it's polycystic ovarian
Man.
syndrome, and it makes it difficult to lose weight as well. I'm not blaming me being
Pastoral orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Every day I'm learning of a new thing that I'm just glad I don't have. Oh man, that's rough. That is rough.
a bigger gal over that by any means. Also, one thing I cannot control is how tall I am. I'm really short, and that's also a part of this body acceptance thing. It's like, that is something that I can change with only one thing, and that's wearing heels. And it's not the most ideal way to live, but like, this is the body that I was born in and the body that I I'm so accepting of other people's bodies, but it's like accepting my own without changing so much about it. It's really difficult.
I think it all comes down to whether or not we have free will. In today's society, we don't have access to knowledge. And so a lot of us don't realize the foods that we're eating is bad. Whether or not you are eating healthy or you're eating like ramen noodles every day, we truly don't know what's in our foods. Unless you have that ability to break through that barrier of this is me, which a lot of people don't, especially in poverty. Like we don't have access to therapy, stuff like that. Like trauma can make a huge barrier between self-awareness and blaming the world. And so a lot of people just blame the world and they can't accept accountability, which could literally be impossible for them.
If I have somebody that
I mean, I agree with her. I agree with her thoughts generally. I felt like I had something I wanted to say with the other girl, but all right, we'll keep it going. I'll jump back in a second. I just want to see where they're going to go with this conversation before I continue my yap fest.
I have to rely on to buy all my food and supplies, and at that point, you don't really have a choice. It's not like an 8-year-old can petition for emancipation. I mean, he's kind of stuck under the guidance and values of his parents.
Yeah, that's true.
As an adult, I guess it's different, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely as young children and even the teenagers, it's not as much of a choice.
What else?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of what I was bringing up earlier. When you you don't choose the parents you're born to, you don't choose the environment you're growing up in, but eventually you grow up, and when you do, it's your choice to make a lot of these different decisions. So you can't remove agency from yourself and accountability by saying you don't have a choice. It might not be the ideal situation if you have, a specific disorder or even just like you grew up with bad habits, and so you are unfortunately kind of like, for lack of a better word, kind of programmed to see things a certain way. There is a lot of agency that you have. There's a lot of choices that you can make, and you have to see that. So most people are not in a position where they have this like really bad, is my view. But let's keep it going.
Do you think makes it not a choice for them?
Gosh, I think of like when I'm like in front of really good food, and just being like a foodie in general, like trying different restaurants. Food is how I bond with people too. Like it's in our society. You go to a restaurant, you eat as much food until you're so stuffed you can't eat anymore. And that is how I eat almost every day. And it feels like I don't have the free will anymore. It freaking controls me. And to get up and have that same energy to go to the gym is really hard. Where I'm like, the easy thing is to do the, eating until I can't no more. And maybe that does make it a choice in a way, but I feel like I don't have the free will to make that choice.
So I will say this. I appreciate her honesty there. Because like she said that knowing that, hey, I'm on YouTube and people are going to watch this, say whatever they're going to say, mean comments, all these different things. I really do appreciate her honesty there. And I agree with her on a lot of that too, right? Like eating is how we bond. Eating is how, like when you go out and you decide that like you're going to chill with friends or you're going to hang out with, or like go on a date, whatever it is, like, yeah, we're eating, we're experiencing foods. Like we're all doing this. It's not like what she's saying isn't something that we don't already do. I think the difference is like, what is your starting place when you're doing that? And how often do you just like eat crazy or eat everything's in front of you? So I think that's the thing that she has to, I think that's the one area where it's just like, oh, you got to watch out a little bit. And then also where she said, she doesn't feel like that's a choice. And I'm like, no, it is. Say it's a hard choice to not do that, but it's a choice. You can't remove that agency from yourself. Darn, that's American society. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, unfortunately, like there's culture has a lot to do with it as well. And I hear there are some other cultures out there where people are generally a lot slimmer than we are over here as a culture, as a society. So, yeah, there's some things we got to check about our own culture. There's some things we got to push to be better for and make better. And we can only do it one day at a time. So we got to start. All right, let's keep it going. I had some other thoughts on something, but I just keep forgetting until I get to the next point, and then I remember, and then I say I'll come back. But let's keep it going. It will come back again.
That makes sense. Do you think a lot more people are feeling that like that too?
100%. Like it's something that I can control. If I'm going to choose a salad, you bet I'm going to put a bunch of dressing on it to make it taste better. Or the burger just looks so good. Like here, I absolutely am going to eat that. compared to the salad. I don't feel like I have control over it, that it does not feel like a choice. It does also feel good. Like the endorphins hit me and I'm just like freaking dopamine
right.
high. I guess I could be addicted to crack. If my food is my addiction, which it is, I've wrote like long like notes in my phone about how bad my food addiction is. Like it doesn't feel like a choice. Like, but there's no place to go, like food rehab, right? It's not treated the same. It's just you're fat and that's your choice. Get up, you lazy thing.
It's
Terrible.
the easiest coping mechanism.
Right.
You know, like I remember having a bad day, like almost weekly. The thing was I would go when it was a bad day and I would hit a Taco John's and grab, you know, a big giant grilled stuffed burrito and
Taco John's? Sorry, I never heard of it before. I just thought it was funny. All right, let's keep it going.
the pound of potato Lay's with a bunch of extra seasoning, you know, because that was like okay, you know, like the same feeling people describe of like having a cigarette when they've been craving it kind of thing. Of like just that release of like, okay, it just set that calm across your whole body kind of thing.
Can I ask you three a question that disagreed?
Yeah.
Do you guys find that sometimes it's a lack of discipline more so than a choice, which can sometimes enable you into making further bad choices? I find myself with those similar struggles on things outside of the gym. How do you guys feel about that?
All right, real quick. It's absolutely lack of discipline, but I think more so it is. And look, I want to be very clear, guys. I have this problem as well. Like I'm literally someone who's been talking about dropping weight for like the past year, and I have been effing around the entire time. So, I mean, we're all going through this. I think a lack of discipline is one of the major things you can kind of put this all on, but I think it goes beyond that. I think it is a misunderstanding of how willpower works. I think a lot of people think willpower is like this thing that you can always just summon and like you know, you're like a Super Saiyan. You power up, you force your willpower into you, and then you go out and you tackle what it is you got to do. But in reality, willpower is like a battery. You only have but so much in the day that you can use. You can use the energy for. And so I think what we have to do when it comes in terms of like making better choices is that you simply have to make it easier for yourself to make better choices. If you have the snacks in the house and all the things that you really shouldn't be messing with, and it's very easy to access, then guess what? You are a lot more likely to go ahead and eat it. But if you make the snacks harder, number one, by not having them in the house, but if you had them in the house, if you put it on like, I don't know, the top of your cabinet and you had to get on a ladder or something to get to it first, I promise you would eat it a lot less than if you were to have it right there on your counter at eye level. Like, make the things that are terrible for you difficult and make the things that are good for you easy. You do that, it's a lot easier to start exercising better habits, because you're not putting yourself in a position where you need to sum the willpower together in order to have better outcomes. They simply are right there in front of you. So something to think about, guys. Just something I think is quite important when we consider the topic of better choices. Let's keep it going.
A fine line between discipline and free will, and it all just comes down onto your neural pathways and whether or not you have the capability to rewire your brain to be like, okay,
neuroplasty.
I can eat this. Right. You know, you can have the Taco Bell, but you have to balance it out with something. Too much of anything is an addiction. If you're constantly eating healthy food, once you get a bite of, you know, Thanksgiving turkey, you're going to overindulge. And I've experienced that myself.
Specifically with going to the gym, like that is a discipline that I highly admire in people like you. Truly. I tell myself I don't have the time. I'm doing other things. I'm working. I don't think I would have the dedication that it takes. Going to the gym is a choice. And you guys, I mean, I'm glad that you do, but it's also like not my thing. I've tried it before and I don't have the discipline to stay consistent with it. So I think that's a good point, Gabe.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it comes down to discipline. You know, I've been through the points in time in my life where, you know, I've been what you would consider 1% as far as physical condition, and I know that at this point it is a discipline thing. Last year, my wife and I did a 90-day challenge, and I lost 50 pounds in 90 days. So I know if I make the choice to do the things, good things happen. You know, so for me, I believe it is a discipline thing, but that it can very well be my privilege. It's not, you know, I have the means to be able to do it if I want to or choose not to. And like you said, food is a social thing for me. I have Just today, I had an all-you-can-eat buffet after a work event. I have at least 3 work meals every single week that are all-you-can-eat buffets, because that's our culture. Like I'm constantly working with people. It's just part of my job to ensuring other people having meals and enjoying themselves. And food is also like my art form. Like I have a commercial kitchen in my home because I just love to experiment with food, like making all kinds of homemade things. The pandemic was an awesome time because we got to make so many homemade things. I just love to deal with food. And so I've always had a problem with weight because,
I just think back to like access and like
I mean, yeah, I get it. It's again, I feel like at some point we're gonna start restating certain things, but it is really just embedded into our culture and our everyday society, how we move, how we interact with each other, and unfortunately, just as the other, I mean, I guess that last guy was saying how things are designed a certain way, um, and I didn't like the thought about design. I just think more so there are certain incentives within our social interactions which promote not the greatest of things to partake in, right? Like for example, I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm almost certain that there are like almost zero benefits to drinking. Yet we do it all the time because it's fun socially. Like the benefit would not be health benefits in that regard, it'd be social benefits, right? And so every single thing we do, there's a give and take to it, and we try to determine whether or not it makes sense for us to uh, accept that trade off, right? All right, let's keep it going.
how you were talking about how sometimes there are folks that are privileged and can access those kinds of things. But for me and how I grew up, I know that like we didn't always have a ride to the food pantry, and even if we did, the food pantry doesn't offer nutritious food a lot of the times. Also, not only transportation, there is that mental block. There's also physical blocks if you are differently abled and not able to make it to the gym or make it to the store. All of those things are really prevalent in the back of my mind because I've experienced a lot of those things. And so I think it's really important for me at least to remember where I come from and then also the privilege I have today to make more choices than I ever could.
I totally get the access because it seems like healthy food is the most expensive anytime you go to the grocery store. And so, I mean, I totally understand the access point. I just want to go back. I mentioned before, I wrestled my whole life. I was not a healthy eater. I mean, try down a 13-year-old, he can't have, a cookie tonight or anything like that. And so, I mean, when I was going to high school too, for lunch, I was eating an Uncrustable and I'd always get like a chocolate chip cookie. And so, I mean, it's possible. Like I said before, as long as, you're not, you're burning more calories than you consume, you're going to lose weight. So at the end of the day, I always think it's a choice. And it's not even like going to the gym. I mean, if you consume a lot of calories during the day and you're like, man, I'm stuffed, I need to go burn a couple calories, you could just go for a walk. I mean, go outside, go for a run.
Yeah.
And you would lose weight. And so, I mean, I'm still on the side where I believe it's a choice.
Again, barring medical conditions, every nutritionist I've ever spoken with has always said it really is as simple as how it's being put. I don't say that to cast in negativity, but more so to just spread like, hey, it is possible. And I don't want to enable anybody's mind to think that it can't be done, more as a real positivity thing. Like you absolutely can do it. And I'll accept that it's certainly harder for some folks, but possible.
Kind of going back to some of the talk about children and stuff earlier, we've made a really conscious decision to make sure that our children are a lot more educated about food, and they understand right now, like, hey, what you're eating is not really healthy, and so they are making the conscious choice, and they understand that right now, at their age, their metabolism is allowing them to get away with the things that they're doing. We've also seen one of our children very much struggle with their own body acceptance a lot, and have a hard time with that, with a lot of bullying and issues and stuff, and so watching them go through that, and we've helped educate them, and they've helped improve themselves in ways that they wanted to. I feel a lot more empowered now with everything I have access to. Speaking to what you said about knowledge earlier, I was a kid I was born in '85, so a lot of the stuff coming out back then was new. A lot of these packaged foods were just coming out with a lot of the newest, fanciest oils and all the other nonsense that they have in them now. And so I feel like as a parent now we do have that choice a lot more to actually educate ourselves if we want to. But the problem is there's not a good way to determine if the data is actually factual nowadays. You can go out there and find actually absolutely contradictory sources from fully highly credentialed, PhD level, completely contradicting in the nutrition space. And so it's really difficult to put the onus on people again when you have a system that is designed to confuse and designed to try and keep people addicted. At the end of the day, it's like so many of our other vice systems. Food has become another vice system in our country.
So as
Okay, I'll let him get the design for the design to be addicted part, because that much I could probably agree with. Again, I didn't like when he was saying designed as like, oh, the healthcare is connected to the food industry is connected to the commercials, well, they actually are. They put up the commercials, but you get what I'm saying. Like this over, like there's like a cabal of people planning to just make you fat, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't agree with that. But if you're gonna say the food industry is trying to make food that you would like a lot, and some of the food that can chemically make you addicted to it, so that way you're going back for these different snacks, then I mean, he's right on that. But one of the things he said that I do want to address, I think it's important. I mean, he mentioned it, and I'm going to go off on a tangent about it a little bit. He was just talking about body acceptance for kids growing up, and I feel like this is the main crux of this debate here. And they didn't ask it directly, but I'm sure, or at least I feel like as I go through these chapters here, fitness can become an unhealthy obsession. People are more attractive than the plus size people, and the word fat is offensive. Okay, interesting topics. But anyways, what I was going to say was that I think when we think about body acceptance, I feel like it is important to think about, right? In reference to, like, there is a movement, I feel, with some people where when they say body acceptance, they mean, like, you know, be okay with where you're at right now. Don't hate yourself, love yourself. And I think all of that is great, and I 100% support that. But I think you have to take that and also have the mentality that, like, hey, just because I do not hate myself when I look in the mirror, that does not mean that improving myself is a bad thing. And I feel like sometimes this is where the line, like, gets blurred within this entire discussion. Whereas there are some people who think to themselves, I can't give an inch to that mentality, because they are simply saying, like, it is okay to, you know, not be in the greatest of shapes, and it's fine to stay there. And it's like, for some people, they are actually saying that, and some people don't know the difference. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's where do certain people draw lines, right? So I would say, yes, body acceptance is great. Be happy with where you are. Be like, have some confidence about you. Don't, like, look at yourself, hate yourself, become depressed over it. Like, accept where you are, and that's okay. But also, you want to make some improvements in terms of living a healthier lifestyle, making better decisions to feel and look better, then also there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And in fact, you should be encouraged to, because if you are in a place where you are way too far over the, you know, the recommended markers, then those could lead to other complications down the line. And that's absolutely not what you want in terms of leading and living a healthy lifestyle. So we got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time is kind of what I'm saying. Jordan, he speaks a lot on nutrition, but doesn't seem to practice it. Yeah, I mean, this guy, right? This guy been talking a lot. This guy been talking a lot about nutrition, but my guy right here is Mr. Taco John, right? That's what he called it, Taco John's or whatever that was. And I'm like, I mean, listen, this is the problem, right? People might have the knowledge, but, like, you ain't making the right choices. Like, I'm guilty of that too. Like I said, I got probably like a good 30 pounds right now. I need to be dropping. I ain't going to Taco John's though. I work in the city now, and you try to go out and be social, and then you BSing, and you find that you ain't dropping the weight the way you thought you was. That's what my issue is right now. But still training at least 5 times a week, just not enough to combat what else is happening out there. But that's not an excuse. I can do better, and I will be better. All right, no more Taco John's for me neither. All right, let's keep it going, guys. Let's keep it going.
I just graduated in 23 of high school, and as someone who's worked in elementary schools, I see how obesity has overtaken the system. When I was in elementary school, we did not have snack time. They have snack time. Multiple times a day, they get to bring their own snacks. And so I see the way that these kids treat each other, and I see the way that they look at food. Being in school too, it's such a structured system. And so when you get the ability to take a break, you overindulge. And so that's just the way our system in America, in the United States, is set up, and how it's been set up since the schools were established. And I find it hard to say that we have free will to be skinny or be fat, because a lot of parents don't know how to parent their children due to the lack of knowledge. And they choose to shut them up with food.
Fitness can become an unhealthy obsession. As always, we'll have the people that agree come up now.
And okay, I guess let me answer the prompt. Fitness can become an unhealthy obsession. Anything realistically can become an unhealthy obsession, but I think there are some things that are generally better for you, so long as you are able to maintain a basic level of balance in your life. Now, I understand that when we talk about balance or, a good level of something, sometimes these things are all subjective. Actually, most of the time, these things are subjective. And so it really comes down to your ability to draw reasonable lines. But can this become an unhealthy obsession? Yeah. Like if you are, if you're kind of in a place where you're like, man, what's the word for it? If you're like bulimic or you have one of these like body dysmorphia, right? These you start developing these mental things where you're looking at yourself and you're always thinking, I'm not good enough, I have to keep going. And I don't mean like I need to work and be better, because again, this is a very thin line, but I mean like realistically, you aren't able to appreciate anything about what you've accomplished. And you look at yourself in disgust all the time, right? You might be like the most in shape looking person and you're sitting right there and you're thinking, wow, you look terrible. You need to do something. And I don't mean like you look terrible for you. I mean, you genuinely are not happy and you are depressed or something crazy by that. And again, a lot of this stuff is thin line, because I guess one might ask, well, what's the difference between someone who looks good to everyone else, but also wants to keep pushing forward to themselves, and someone who is like borderline anorexic? I mean, then you get what I'm saying. Not necessarily anorexic, but like they're pushing themselves to a level that is crazy, and people are like, I don't see what you see. Because what I see is someone who looks okay, but if you keep going where you think you need to go, I don't think you'll be okay. This line, again, is subjective, but I think if you're doing that, yes, you can be an unhealthy obsession if you're taking it too far. But if you are keeping it within, again, a reasonable limit, I think you're okay. So where would I sit on this? I think I might say it could be an unhealthy obsession, but I think it's also a good thing to be obsessed about. So it can also be a good obsession, if that makes sense. Jorn, maybe because I'm introverted, but I've always looked at myself where I can improve in general, not obsessive. I stopped working out and lost 30 pounds so far, but I lost some muscle mass also. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because let me move this over a little bit. Oh, I gotta 1 second. I gotta fix this. Here we go. Let's see if I can get another midstream adjustment without breaking things. See if I can do this the right way. I think I can. Yeah. All right. Good. We're good. All right. Perfect. I broke a stream before trying to do something like that. All right. But yeah, no. You know what, Jordan? I feel you on this, because it's like it's like I think about. I grew up as a major introvert. I feel like the majority of my life, I've always been introverted as well. And with that, you kind of look at it and you think like, all right, well, how can I be better? How can I improve? There's like an internal monologue that is always speaking with you at all times, right? That's just like the main thing. Like I always talk about like just these shows I would like watching growing up, like Doug or Hey Arnold, and like all these characters who were like introspective, right? And that's part of what being an introvert is, having that internal dialogue. And that internal dialogue says a lot of different things, right? And I don't think it was obsessive either. So I agree with where you're coming from here. I think I'm very similar in that regard. And it's funny because it to someone else may come off as obsessive, because it's like, oh, you're talking to yourself about it. But I'm like, but no, I'm just like, it allows me to have that balance and allows me to kind of be in a good place where I think I'm at peace with what my journey has looked like up to this point. So I'm going off on a tangent here. Sorry, there's a little bit of the tiredness seeping into, but I wanted to say shout out to you losing 30 pounds. is never easy, but it's great when you get there, and it is something to be proud of. Losing some muscle mass on it, yeah, that happens. Unfortunately, when it comes to weight loss, you hope it's all fat, but sometimes you lose a little muscle in the journey as well. The best you could do is, if you're actively trying to drop weight, keep the protein high, and hope for the best. But yeah, shout out to you, Jordan. That's very very impressive. But I mean, I think right now I'm working for that as well. We'll say by my birthday. My birthday's in March, so like I'm like, all right, I could pull that off by March. I just gotta lock in a little bit. The summer, the winter's here, so it's time to lock in and get serious, and we can absolutely make this happen. All right, let's keep it going.
I know for me, my personal experience, I have struggled with an eating disorder before, and when I was struggling with that, I know that I was eating, we were just talking about like calories in, calories out. I know I was eating less calories than I was exercising out. So I would eat like 300 calories and then I'd burn off 400. And so exercise was a really unhealthy obsession for me at that time. And I know that a lot of things influenced me, such as like social media and the internet and things like the inspiration and pro-ana and pro-mia sites. But that's what made me think that exercise was the only way to lose weight and the only way to become what I wanted to be.
I don't know if my mom will appreciate me talking about this, but my mom used to be a weight loss and fitness coach. It consumed a lot of her life for like the early 2010s when it was really popular to be in that sort of thing. And it affected me a lot more as a kid, watching her like obsess over working out every single day and how much weight she was losing. And I was just like really hurt by a lot of it, actually. Just like it's affecting the people around you, especially your kids. It was like, I can't do something right now, or I can't do this because I have to put in my workout. And it's like putting the people that you love on the back burner because of something else, like going to the gym or working out.
Yeah, I think
That's actually pretty unfortunate because so okay, so a lot of what happens with how the habits you pick up as a kid, pretty much when you're growing up, if you have your parents in the household with you, whoever raises you, whoever's in the house with you as an adult figure, they have a major influence on how you view the world, especially like in those earlier years. So when you have parents who are into fitness, typically it is a good thing that you inherit from them, right? Like shout out to my dad. My dad has always been in shape his whole life, and he was a bodybuilder. My dad was able to do front flips. My dad was a very athletic dude growing up, and me, my brothers, my sister, the whole family, we all took after his example, and we followed along that. And like I tell you, I think I might have had one point in my life growing up where I was a little on the overweight side. This is like maybe elementary school, and then maybe like third grade. third grade or second grade or something, and it was just that year. And then after that, it was just like, oh hey, we're running around more, we're just being kids. And by the time we hit middle school, we're like doing push-ups and all these things, and like we're following his example, and we're in shape. It's just been part of who we are. And for me, at least seeing the example he set, the fitness stuff never seemed like something that was in the way of us being kids, of us like growing up and being a happy family, any of these things. And unfortunately, it sounds like that was the case with her. So it feels like, and again, this is the unfortunate part, is that seeing her mom, who would have otherwise been a great example for her, for an example to follow, it actually backfired a bit because the way her mom had presented it and prioritized the other things in her life, the time spent with the children, the time spent with the family, the like the priorities of what it is that you have to do when you have a family, you have to take care of as well as yourself. It unfortunately had the side effect of rubbing her the wrong way, and it feels like it's the very thing that made her go the opposite to what her mom has done here. Now, I am no psychologist, but it feels like after she said that, we got our answer as to why she is so against working out now. But again, I really hate when she tries to say it's not a choice, because everything we're seeing right here is just like something happened to me that I saw growing up, and I made a choice never to work out these issues. So not good, but again, I appreciate her sharing, and we'll keep it going from there. PTSD. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. My girl seen her mom working out and was just like, I think working out is going to be a problem for the rest of my life. And I'm like, you are taking all the wrong lessons from this. You are taking all the wrong lessons from this. So yeah, let's keep it going.
For me, I usually think to sports, and then for work-related things, whether that's like modeling or military stuff or whatever. I think people can go to some very unhealthy extremes and become obsessed with it when trying to reach some of these goals, and then I think some of it can go back into some of the mental health with body dysmorphia, where you can have people that have very unrealistic ideals, and you see people with implants that are drastically changing their body, because they're obsessed with not just the fitness, but also the look. And so, it's a lot of that internet and what you're talking about with how that culture has been influencing much more and more. And, growing up a lot younger, that was not something that we were exposed to, really in the 80s and 90s. You would have a curated image, and, you'd have like MTV and things like that, where there was that, but it wasn't exposed and in your face and from uncurated sources and people that are your age, but from all kinds of different walks of life. There's not a filter on that. And I think that's how people can get so obsessed with it, because they just have all the access.
So
yeah, I'm gonna just jump in real quick and supplement his point. He's absolutely correct. We didn't have social media like that growing up, but now we do. And social media is not real life. It is real life, but it's not fully real life. You have to understand that on social media there are a lot of highlights of people's real lives, and also people out here using like filters and these little like it's so funny. There's I mean, my unhealthy obsession with social media is there's these characters like, what is it, Goob2 or whatever, these content creators who their content is exposing people for like faking their photos. I love that content because it's just like, guys, the people who are out there doing this are ruining it for everybody, because the people who are actually believing that, like, you see this model with the completely Coke bottle waist, and then like you look close and you're like, oh, hold on. You're standing in front of a locker and that locker is warped into your waist. That can't be real, right? Like all these things have unfortunately affected people's minds in what it is to set realistic standards. So from that perspective, I agree with him. Social media has warped realistic standards and what the standards should be. There's great things about it. As with all things, there's things to look forward to, things to work towards, but then also, yeah, there's unrealistic standards, fake expectations, highlights that you are now comparing yourself against, and a whole bunch of other nonsense that comes along social media. So, take the good in with the bad, and that's life simply, right? Keep it going.
Well, like you said about modeling, I started modeling about 2 years ago. And when I first came in, she was like, we measured myself, and that was all cool. And I see myself as a pretty fit woman. I have been my entire life. I've been this weight for a reasonable amount of time. She measured me and she was like, you're a plus size model. And for a really long time, that kind of just weighed on my conscience. And so I would overly obsess, hitting 5 days at the gym, calorie deficit, all of that. My hair started falling out. I started noticing my skin was breaking out, all of these things. And then again, like I would not be spending time doing the things I wanted to do because I was consumed in being skinny. But then I was just like, girl, you look fine. And I think a lot of people don't think that way, but my mom raised me to be a very, very disciplined woman and to see all aspects of life. And I am so blessed to be able to look at myself and truly love myself, but a lot of people don't have that opportunity, and so it continues to be an addiction.
You guys mentioned a good point over there about how detrimental it can be to your family life if it's all you focus on. I wasn't even thinking about that at first, but that definitely can be true. I guess I was kind of leaning towards the rich pianas of people that take things too far, ingest their bodies, and then ultimately it takes their life. And at that point, yeah, it's certainly an obsession that's gone too far. Social media might have a big impact where it'll make someone feel a certain way. People start to inject their bodies with performance-enhancing drugs, things they don't really know what they're putting in their body. It might be some backwoods bathtub concoction that somebody makes, all in hopes to, add to that workout just because they think it's going to make them that much better. I feel like there's a certain time last year where I just kept seeing name after name of influencer that, dying, going to the hospital. I mean, I feel like for several months in a row, I saw like 4 or 5 people die. Their heart starts to explode.
Yeah, well, I think that we covered kind of all the range on that, so I guess the time would be now to bring in one disagreeer. So,
what?
After everything that was said, I mean, I pretty much agree with, I kind of agree with the topic now. But
well, could you maybe show like give us maybe what you were thinking originally when you're thinking like, okay, maybe it can't be unhealthy. Like, what were you thinking?
The thing that I was thinking of is, I mean, just the fitness part. I feel like a lot of the things that were said might stem from other things. I mean, maybe like mental problems and stuff like that, or like people were saying social media. I think it could stem from that. I mean, there was a point in my life where I was addicted to going to the gym every day. Like, it was the only thing I looked forward to with my day, and I wanted to go twice a day, 3 times a day, as much as I could. And at that point in my life, I felt better than I ever have. And so, I mean, I was addicted to it, and I felt great. And thankfully, I never, wanted to get bigger, wanted to get stronger, wanted to hop on tests or anything like that, and ruin my life. Things you guys were saying maybe stem from something else. Maybe there's some deeper problems that are going on rather than just fitness and somebody going to the gym caused all these problems.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's more the fitness itself or the external factors?
I'd say probably more of the external stuff. You're using fitness as a coping mechanism a lot of times to treat whatever it is or try and achieve whatever goal it is, or
obviously,
that kind of thing. And then a lot of the substance stuff, like it comes in as, again, not because somebody's a user, but again because they're just addicted to trying to achieve whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe just in your case it was fitness only, or was the fitness like because you were like, okay, now as a wrestler I feel the best that I ever have, that I'm going to the gym 3 times, or was it just like purely because I'm hitting the gym that it was?
At the point when I started hitting the gym more, it was kind of just purely just to hit the gym. I mean, I was going with my brother and stuff like that, so I mean, had somebody to hang out with, and then eventually I started noticing changes, and so I just wanted to keep lifting. It was exciting to me at that point.
I'm gonna go forward a little bit here. I think they're just about wrapped up on this question. I'm gonna get to the next question here because I want to be able to go through all of the questions, but it is it is a long one. But yeah, I mean, very very interesting discussion so far, and I see where this last gentleman was coming from. I was interested as to what he was thinking when he was the only disagreeer, and the point he wanted to make, and I think I do agree with. He was just more so saying everything that everyone mentioned about where fitness basically might have been the central focus for something catastrophic in their lives. I'm not sure if we could solely blame it on fitness or it was external factors that they were then using fitness as a coping mechanism to deal with, right? So you talk about the one guy talked about the guys like the rich pianos, the bodybuilders who just kind of like abuse their bodies with drugs at that point to achieve a certain look, but also at the same time cut their lives very, very short, right? With seeing a lot of these folks dying in like their 40s with like heart problems and all these different things. Obviously, that's not good. But in order to decide to cross that line and continuously go there and continuously abuse your body, you have to also be thinking like you're in complete YOLO mode at that point, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily would blame it on fitness, or it's like you're in the mindset to just say, F it, I'm here for a short time, not a long time, but I'm gonna maximize the time I have while I'm here. Things like that. I don't know. But all right, let's keep it going.
Okay, those changes, was that just physical changes, or was it also changing the way you interacted with the world and the way people interacted with you?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, the physical changes, of course, that's what a lot of people look for, but I mean, it kind of gave me more confidence, made me feel like, if I did nothing during the day but hit the gym, that I accomplished, something during that day. So, I mean, gave me a lot of rewards going to the gym.
I think it has a lot to do with your gender as well, because men can handle like higher cortisol levels, and women we can't. Like, we're meant to have a little bit of fat on our body because, when in prehistoric times, we were the ones staying in the caves, protecting our children with our weight. And so we would be the ones eating mass amounts of foods. And so when we're constantly raising our cortisol levels, that is just very unhealthy to us, to our brain levels, to our every single nutrient in our body. Like men, you guys can take it, nothing against you guys, but you guys can take it. And I think a lot of people that start their fitness journeys don't know that there is a difference biologically between women and men and how much we can take. So at first I was going 5 days a week, and like you said, it would give me something to look forward to, and I felt rewarded even when I would do nothing. But it affects our bodies a lot differently, as well as, cold plunges and stuff, like just simple things that like add to the fitness journey. Like women can't do so much of that. And I wish it was like more known that we are not supposed to be putting ourselves through that. But yeah, we just can't handle that.
You said that you started to notice you weren't doing anything else for the day, but you went to the gym, that you still felt good
cold
about it.
plunge.
At what point of you lacking on your other responsibilities, only going to the gym, do you think it would still be acceptable, or would you start to dog on yourself?
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna go forward to the next question, but I think just overall to wrap up that point, I think when we say something is an obsession, heard this somewhere before, but basically it becomes a problem if it prevents you from doing some of the other duties that you have to do in life to get by. if you are not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of your financial responsibilities, your familiar responsibilities, or anything else you got to do, then this obsession is a problem. But if you're able to maintain balance, do the things that you like, do this particular activity while making sure everything else in your life is not falling apart, then I think you're okay. Let's keep going. We're gonna go on to. I'm gonna look for this chapter marker here. We're gonna go on to the next question. It is. Did I just lose it? Oh, there it is. Cool.
Fit people are more attractive than plus size people. We'll start.
I mean, this is kind of like a no duh, right? I guess it's kind of a no duh here. I understand beauty standards and attraction is more or less in the eyes of the beholder, but there are some, and I don't have the I don't have the stats here, but there are some generalities, I would say, that kind of go across the board, right? Things like symmetry. Yeah, this sucks. I'm not gonna be able to pull this off. I'm trying to think of what are all the markers, but I would just say like symmetry and there are like balance on someone's face and all these different things. There are a lot of factors that, regardless of what your preferences might be in terms of like what you are attracted to, that people can generally agree with. And I think, just typically speaking, people who are in better shape adhere to what a lot of these standards and things are just out of the box. And so that's the reason why they're generally more attractive. I feel like this is a no-brainer. I feel like everyone should agree here. That does not mean that you universally will find a person who is skinnier to be more attractive than a person who is heavier. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, we're taking on a what's the word? If we're going on average here, then it's kind of a no-brainer. And that's kind of obvious. I'm not saying anything profound here. Let's see what they have to say and let's keep it going.
Start by having everyone that agrees come up now. But I mean, obviously this is a personal preference and opinion question. What makes fit people more attractive than plus size people?
Definitely, I have had friends that like women on the plus side. I've had friends that like women that, to me, look really small. One aspect other than just the looks alone is I think hard work is really attractive, and I think that most people find people that work hard is a really attractive trait. Whether you're a doctor, a pilot, you're a cop, if someone sees you're working hard, that's a super attractive quality to me, and that really is shown on the way you take care of yourself. I've seen plenty of people that are not fit, they're not fat, just kind of a normal person, but they don't really have any other day-to-day activities where they have hard work. And I think the body is a really good, very first sight you get to see how hard does this person work, and I think that trait of just hard work is super attractive.
You know, I'm going to give him that because I agree with that as well. Like, sometimes it's not, in addition to what I was mentioning, because I was only answering the question about physicality. I think he's totally right about that. Is that sometimes when you see someone in a certain, like when they look a certain way, you're just like, you are able to make you're able to make some assumptions about them, right? Where it's like, hey, if you're my age, you're in your 30s, and you look like you are in shape, then I know to a degree you are disciplined enough to continuously be there. Because by the time you get here, you don't just look that way without some intention. Like, it simply doesn't happen. But by this point, you have a job that probably has you sitting at a desk all this time. You're going to put on some weight, or maybe you've had a family, you have a kid or something like that. All these different things which inevitably make you start to go down the path of not looking as great as you once did. But if you still somehow pulled it off, then it tells me some things about you, even before I even meet you. And those things alone are attractive. It means you're disciplined. It means you're focused. It means you care about taking care of yourself. And that in and of itself is also attractive. So I agree with him on that one. So yeah, that's a good point.
I think you need to take that hard work may not always present in a physical form. And so I know people that are doing very hard work, but it just isn't hard from a physical labor standpoint. But beyond that, I think the first thing we need to do is point out that it's all men up here that agree with this one. Like, I think we have to point that elephant out.
I wasn't going to say it, but my guy said it, and he's right. I feel like the girl power here is not going to allow them to say that. And that's why none of the girls came forward on that one. But also, men are visual creatures. And this is simply how we're going to see it. We're not. It's not saying that what is on the inside and the personality of the person you're dealing with does not matter. But before we even get to know any of that, what do you look like? So like we got to call it for what it is. Keep it going.
Out immediately and say that that's probably something that's societally related. That we grow up, like you said, talking with your friends, some that prefer this, some that prefer that. But I think our friends, especially in sports and things like that, locker room talk, I think there's a lot of pressure on men to have a
I hate that phrase, by the way. Why did Trump leave us with that phrase, locker room talk? We all understand what he means, but like, damn. All right, let's keep it going.
girlfriend that is conventionally attractive according to whatever the beauty standards are at the time. Like I know that's how I was when I was a kid. I would assume that's how it is. And so, you have a lot of men kind of brought into this system, indoctrinated into this mindset of like, I got to do this almost like a keeping up with the Joneses. My buddies are going to think of me, a certain way if my girlfriend doesn't look a certain way. And so then they condition themselves to think. And then also society's constantly pushing that at us. You don't have different body types shown in different ways. There's very few people over time that have ever broken into the very famous industry that weren't of a conventional beauty standard because they're just shut out. They don't get the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like he was saying, I got friends, who their standard or whatever, what they're looking for is just like really extreme, really skinny, and then friends on the other side who, prefer plus size. But for me personally, it's, just someone I can relate to. So, my girlfriend, she lifts and we like to lift together. And so it's just something I like to do with her and she likes to do with me. And so just something I look for and something I enjoy.
Yeah, it's like a bond for you. You're saying it lies a lot in the bonding aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
The similarity. It's like a strong pillar of your relationship.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I can say, with my wife, I've been together with my wife for 19 years, so I've known my wife at a range from, like 120 pounds to almost 200 pounds. And, so like I know that physically, like I have different ranges of where I feel levels of physical attraction with her. And we've had those conversations, and she said the same with me that, when I've had more weight on, that she's been less physically attracted to me. And it's just something that we understand that really, like you were saying, the bonding, it's the true attraction isn't about what we look like. Eventually we're going to be old and wrinkly at the end of the day. It's about what kind of a connection you have with that person is really what attraction is about. And I think that's why probably it's also more men up here right now, is because men are conditioned to not as often have that kind of a bond and have that desire to form that bond in that same way, where women, the way that they bond with their friends is much more emotionally connected, whereas with men it's much more physical, it's much more sports and outdoor activities, and it's not as intimate of a bonding situation.
I mean, I take his point. I just, I don't want him to get into the point where you're like diminishing what men might typically be interested in initially, or in general, like what men favor, and saying that it's less than what women care about. Like we're simply different, and that's perfectly okay, right? Like men are more visual creatures. It factors more into how we feel, and how we feel in the moment, and all these different things, and that's okay. That doesn't mean it's worse or better. It's just different. That's the only critique. But otherwise, I agree with what he's saying here. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, definitely, I would say probably the most like judgmental people of a young man is another young man.
Sure.
But I think it's a good time to bring up the rest of us. I guess the real question is, does the size of someone's body have any pull on the amount of attraction you guys have for people?
It does not.
Lies! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was gonna catch myself. I noticed I'm starting to get a bit tired, but once I heard that lie, it just brought me back to life. Hap, okay? Hap! I need you guys to understand this right now. I'm sorry, my girl over here. You can say that. You can, like, I'm gonna let her finish. I'm gonna let her get this one off. But I just need you to know, to act like the size of somebody does not matter is a goddamn lie, okay? It matters. Everyone knows it matters. Like, these are the same folks who would then look at like Thor, right? or like one of these characters and be like, oh, you're so attractive. Well, there's something about those characters. They're in shape, they're conventionally attractive, and if Thor was like, I guess Chris Hemsworth, if dude was like 250 pounds over what he is now, it's not saying that he might not still be attractive, but like for damn sure he wouldn't be Thor. Okay, so Zeb trying to act like it doesn't matter and say that like you're like, I'm not saying she's going to say this, but I'm going to say that there's some people who act like it doesn't matter. I only care what's on the inside. No, that doesn't make you better or worse than anybody. It's perfectly fine to say you're attracted to people who are in better shape. It's perfectly fine. It's okay. We all are. Okay. But stop lying. Do not get on YouTube and lie to me right now. Okay. I will not accept it. Let's keep it going. Let's give her a chance to explain herself, because I just assumed a lot of things that she's gonna say, but I just felt like she was about to cap, and I just want to head it off before it gets started. Let's keep it going.
I've never been attracted to a particular body type, but my boyfriend is plus size. We've been together it'll be 4 years in November, and he is the first person to ever truly look at me and find me attractive, truly. And that's something that I think everyone deserves, no matter what your size is. And it's really a good point that you had brought up that, honey, we're gonna age. You're gonna have wives with babies that are going to be bigger. And what if like they can't lose the weight? What if they're not fit enough for you? You're just going to stop loving them? That's extremely sad. And because you're attracted to someone, like I'm not saying people can't have.
There's a difference between love and attraction. I just need to make that very clear. There's a difference between love and attraction. Yes. If you are going to have a long-term partner and you're going to go through a lot of things together, there are going to be moments where at the end of a pregnancy or when you guys are like 1,000 years old, that you're not going to look the same anymore. You're going to go through things, like the things that made, like when you first met this person and they were at their most attractive, they're not going to always be that way. Like this is obvious, but the love is what keeps you there. The commitment, it is what keeps you there. And you will still be there, regardless of all these things. But is it saying that during some of these moments, during the course of your relationship, you have highs and lows, because you do, but you also have moments of like, I'm like, I'd like peak levels of attracted to this person right now, and I'm at a lower level of attracted to this person right now. You also go through that as well. And I understand that some people don't want to talk about that, or they don't want to say that it's a thing, but it is a thing. And that's okay. Like admitting it doesn't make it not, like admitting it doesn't make the world a worse place. It's just stating something that we all already know to be true. And again, that's fine. I don't like where she's going with this right now. It seems like moral grandstanding for no damn reason is all I'm going to say. But I'm going to let her finish. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. Let's keep it going.
Preferences, because obviously everyone has their preferences, but it's sad that someone wouldn't look at maybe someone like me and be like, I wouldn't be willing to give her a chance because of the way that she looks and not who I am as a person. And that sucks, because like people wouldn't even get the chance to know me before counting me out, which is
I mean, the problem is that like she's probably an awesome person, and that has nothing to do with whether or not you are initially attracted to her. Always remember, attraction is not a choice. What you do based on an attractive afterwards is a choice. But attraction itself is not a choice. When you initially meet someone, you see them, you immediately know if you are attracted to them or not. Now, that attraction can get stronger or weaker based on certain factors, right? These factors can be the proximity, the amount of time you spend around them. This could be the outfits or the clothes that they had on one day or another. This could be once you get to learn more things about them, you become more or less attracted. There are a lot of things that deal in reference to attraction, right? And but when we're talking about initial attraction and whether or not someone might approach you, yeah, like that's where your initial attraction matters. Like even someone, like there might be someone that you might find yourself initially, you might have otherwise found yourself initially attracted to, but on that day they just look terrible, and so you counted them out. These are just the things that happen. It is what it is. Let's keep it going.
terrible. And I think a lot of people feel that way. A lot of big people feel that way. Like, how am I deserving of love when all of the men just sat down here and said, I'm not attracted to a particular body type? That sucks.
Think that someone
Just sucks that the word fat is used in such a negative connotation that I find it offensive.
Oh.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
thin isn't used in the same.
Made fun of, picked on, anything like that, or judged.
My bad. I actually I accidentally hit down the piece there and lost where I was.
Without getting to know them. But at the same time, I feel like,
as many, you said there's very few people plus size that have broken into industries like that earlier. Why do you guys think that is?
afraid of hurting feelings. I feel like that's where we've gone as a society.
Efron, right? Like one of
Gonna
the
back
most
up a little
shredded I
bit.
think anyone's ever been in a movie.
Size is. And it's really a good point that you had brought up, that, honey, we're going to age. You're going to have wives with babies that are going to be bigger. And
All right, this is where we were. Yeah.
I think it depends on every woman.
Okay,
I don't think every woman has to have a
wouldn't be willing to give her a chance because of the way that she looks and not who I am as a person. And that sucks because like people wouldn't even get the chance to know me before counting me out, which is terrible. And I think a lot of people feel that way. A lot of big people feel that way. Like, how am I deserving of love when all of the men just sat down here and said, I'm not attracted to a particular body type? That sucks.
Yeah, but like, and I'm repeating myself here, but like, that's just what it is, though. Everyone's attracted to what they're attracted to, and that's okay, right? Like, that's perfectly fine. Like, man, let's see. Jordan, how you look is part of who you are as a person, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I always feel like there's this thing where when conversations like this are being had, people almost try to take the look aspect of it out of the picture because they feel like focusing on it in any way, shape, or form makes you shallow or like you're not as like high-minded as you should be. And I'm just like, who are we fooling? Like, yeah, I agree with you. How you look is part of who you are. It's part of the package. How you are, how educated you are, how knowledgeable you are, how smart you are, all these different things that people like to point as like good characteristics about them, how introspective you are, how like artsy you are, all these things. These are all part of who you are. These are all part of the package. But again, in that package is how you look. And these are some of the things that are going to determine whether or not you are a compatible partner for whoever it is out there that you will be dealing with. So I think it's perfectly fine when people are like, hey, there's a certain type I'm attracted to. There's a certain type of, when men say there's a certain type of woman I typically would go for. I mean, people have their preferences and then people have the reality of where life takes them. Sometimes like the ideal thing that you have in your mind is not what you're going to get because they're called ideals, not reality. But like, and so people make concessions all the time. They're like, oh, I might have this ideal image in my head of what a person would look like, but I'm not even the ideal image of what I could look like. Like people weigh a lot of different things in their mind. But I just don't like this idea that she's trying to push out here, where it's just like caring about physical attractiveness is a problem because it's not part of who you are. And it's okay. People have their preferences, and I get it. You might feel like it is not fair that some people that you otherwise might have had a good connection with and might have been compatible with disqualify you based on that particular, based on your initial attraction. But again, that's the game. So let's keep it going.
Think that someone plus size could be attractive in your head?
I think it depends on every woman.
Okay.
I don't think every woman has to have a snatched waist. This is going to sound very shallow amongst the boys if we're getting truthful. If a girl has a nice waist to butt hips ratio, I still find it very attractive. It doesn't have to be 23-inch waist and whatever. There's variations of what I find attractive.
That's not shallow, by the way. Do you see the point I'm trying to say? Like, this is the thing I don't like sometimes, where it's just like the things that are male centric are like they take on this negative connotation of being shallow. It's like, no, like all guys understood exactly what he was just saying right there. We get it. We get it. It could be different shapes, sizes, as long as you see a good ratio. Oh, you know what? She's attractive. I like what I see right now. Like, all dudes with eyes can see that. It's perfectly fine. I don't like this idea of like demonizing things that are male centric for no reason. Like, it's fine. Let the dudes be the dudes. Let the women be the women. Like, we have the things we're attracted to. We have the things that we understand within our own subcultures of genders, and it's perfectly fine. But let's keep it going.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I just want to keep following up with the people that disagree. What's your take on it?
I also don't have a preference of body type. I'm very fluid in my dating preferences, and I'm
that's okay.
very emotionally invested in the people that I date. So for me, it's a lot about if we have a lot of common hobbies or common interests, not necessarily if we have a common body type.
Like, say you're watching a movie, right? Baywatch, Zac Efron, right? Like, one of the most shredded I think anyone's ever been in a movie on camera. Does that make any difference to you seeing that versus someone that, I don't know, I guess was plus size? No difference at all. No. Yeah, whoever. I mean,
lies. No. No, no. To be fair, I'm not sure about her. I won't say that. But like this girl over here, the girl, the in shape girl over here, if she says no, she is lying. Okay, lies. If she says it, I can just see it. She's a very attractive girl. I'm almost certain she's looking for someone who is in a similar like who presents in a similar manner to her. I want to see what she's going to say. She hasn't said anything yet, but if she does comment on it and she doesn't say what I just said or something similar to it, I'm going to have to call her out on it. Let's keep it going.
Yes, like if I have a preference at all, my celebrity crush is Luke Combs, which is a plus-size gentleman, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, that makes so that makes a very clear point.
Now, and to be fair, like I mentioned earlier, like there are when we talk about averages, there's general looks and ideas people have. Most people are attracted to fit people. Do preferences shift across the spectrum in all different ways, shapes, and forms? Absolutely. We're just talking on averages here. So if she says that her dream person is also a plus size person, then sure, I'll take her word for it, and I agree. But would I say most people feel that way? I would say no. But let's keep it going.
Point of what I was asking. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay.
I got a question for you guys. So if you like went into a bar or something like that, what would make you go up to a person and talk to them?
Wanting to talk to someone. Like I've been
Yeah, you see, that's a great question because that's kind of the point I was talking about earlier. The initial attraction is the gateway to every other thing they're talking about. They're talking about personality and, oh, do we get along? Do we have common interests? All of that is great. But what is the gateway in which you start a
sparkle in their eye, not their body type. It's not the first thing I'm paying attention to.
I can see that. I've seen plenty of women that have great bodies, but they just have a nasty, mean attitude. You can tell off their face.
Right.
You're like, I can tell I wouldn't really like talking to you.
Right.
Personally, I don't think I've really ever looked at anyone I was attracted to and been only attracted to them based on their body type, unless they were a woman. And I've never dated anyone based on their body type. But when you look at Ashley Graham too, she's a plus size Victoria's Secret model. Beautiful. We see all of these models who are plus size technically, but they look different as well. They still have curves and stuff. So I really do feel like it's based off of genetics. And I personally am a personality person. I never dated anybody based on how they look. But as well,
Do you guys believe this woman right now? I need you guys to take a moment. Travel with me for a while. Do you believe what this woman just said? Do you believe that this woman has never dated somebody based on how they look? I want you right now to look at this woman. She's a very attractive woman, okay? She's attractive. She's cool. She's in shape. But there's a problem. And the problem is she has decided to lie live on YouTube in front of everybody because that is cap. I refuse to believe what this woman just said. This is that virtue signaling BS that I am talking about because what she's trying to spin right now is this like, I am attracted to personality. I tell you right now, it's the personality that I like, and I don't care about the attraction. It's on what's on the inside. Well, guess what? That is great too. What is on the inside is whether or not I am staying in this situation. But the initial attraction is what gets me there. And a lot of the times, people have an internal idea on who matches them. They think, well, I see myself as this level of attractiveness, and I would like to ideally pair with someone who is of similar or greater attractiveness to me. Maybe you say similar or slightly less attractiveness to me, but you do not go ahead and say, I'm not even looking at it. So when this lady right here is trying to say she has never dated anyone based on how they look, I call cap, okay? Cap, El Capitan, all right? Probably dated based on income equals personality. You know what? Actually, Jordan, you onto something, brother. You were onto something. I was not considering that. I was not considering that one right there. You know, because you know what? I mean, someone's rich. That is the trump card, right? Oh, you know what? He might not look like Thor, but he got Thor money. Right? So it's a lot different. It's a lot different. Hey, you know what? You know what? I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna take it back a little bit because I did not consider this for this moment. I forgot about this side of dating altogether. Is that there is absolutely some folks looking to weigh their options, and their options are based on the lifestyle that they could potentially gain from that partner. And lifestyle is based on the income that partner could provide to them, right? So absolutely did not consider this. And you know what? If he has high income, then he has a better personality, perhaps. And yeah, we'll give her that out. We'll give her out there. We will give her that out right there. Maybe she was dating on personality, and by personality we mean the bank account matched. So there's that too. There's that too. All right, let's keep it going. This El Capitan, this is ridiculous to me. All right, let's keep it going.
Is
All right,
if we
all
don't
right.
have things in
I'm
common.
sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I just that was too much for me. That was too much. Let's keep it going.
Like now that I am very disciplined and I go to the gym, if someone has negative habits and they don't go to the gym, that's when I would find them unattractive. But if they don't go to the gym and they're taking care of themselves, like I don't really see how that could impact me personally.
Why do you think for so long there weren't as many? You said there's very few people plus size that have broken into industries like that
never
earlier.
mind.
Why do you guys think that is?
Afraid of hurting feelings. I feel like that's where we've gone as society. Is we're afraid of offending somebody, and I mean, I'm all for. I don't think anybody should be made fun of, picked on, anything like that, or judged without getting to know them. But at the same time, I feel like everything we do, it should be for future generations. And so with the body acceptance, it's like you're blasting these commercials and you're showing all this stuff, and it's like, how is this affecting the kids? And so we want our kids to grow up healthy lifestyles so they can live long. And so I feel like it could be maybe a negative impact, and making sure that kids understand having a healthy lifestyle. Like she was saying earlier, how we might not have access to this information, and it's like once we take it away, then nobody knows.
I don't think it's truly because the industry has empathy. I think it's because a lot of the laws that are coming into place are now making them put more people, especially people of color too, into these roles.
Why were they kept out for so long? Not why are they getting introduced, but like why do you think they were kept out for so long? Like having plus size representation in media?
Because there were European ideal beauty standards that they wanted everyone to look like. So like going back to what you were saying, now they have to include like the diversity hires or whatever because they never thought about those people before. Like they never thought about fat people, they never thought about people of color. They thought about the people that were the majority or they thought looked the best. So they included those people. Like that's why it's been so long without a lot of inclusion because they didn't like how the other people looked.
I don't think it's necessary.
Now I will speak to that, and I agree with her on this. I think if we're talking specifically like modeling and all that kind of stuff, then a lot of the times we are really talking about like the ideals or like the people who stand out. They're like exceptionally good looking in some way, shape, or form. And with that, in a lot of ways, there did become a certain beauty standard. And when she says European beauty standards, she's right about that as well. Like every single region has their own like kind of beauty standards and things that they find attractive, and we have a lot of overlap with them. So there's things that we find. I mean, if you just look at like you just go through the decades and look at like what was seen as like the it girl in media, it has changed over and over again. There are certain qualities that you can always see there. Pretty is pretty, and that never changes. But you see body type changing a lot, and certain things changing a lot. So I agree with her when she talks about they're more or less being like the diversity hires now and kind of including things to show people there. Because and in a way, it makes sense. Most people don't look like the most beautiful people you see on these magazines. So if they have people who look more, I don't want to say average. Well, yeah, average. But like average, but like slightly above average, then in my mind, it seems a little bit more believable because they seem like the people that we know, like you see more around. Like I think it's perfectly fine is what I'm getting at. For certain things to be like, hey, let's include a better mix of people rather than this like ideal that 90% of the people walking around with can't even dream of getting close to. And it's like a fake and fake and unrealistic standards to try to get them to adhere to. So I get that. And then, yeah, that's fine. Let's keep it going.
Necessarily, only because they didn't like about how they looked. Being in the modeling industry too, a lot of the clothes that they make are specialized for one size, and so if you don't fit these measurements, you're out. And so for a long time, it was just you had to fit 24, 22, whatever. And if you didn't fit those, you wouldn't even be able to wear our clothes. As well as they taught us that Europeans are the majority, which with percentage they're not. It's really just about money and power. Who has the availability to buy these clothes like Prada and Mugler and all of these things? It's people who, it goes back to slave times, who has old money, and that's Europeans.
Well, it's exactly that.
I won't comment on the end there. I don't have much to add, but I will say I was just thinking about it when she mentioned that she was considered like a plus size model, and it is true. Like I randomly, well, I'm sorry, I'm not saying she was lying or anything. I'm saying that it's wild to me that that's true. That's really what I'm getting at. I think I was chatting with my sister the other day, and she sent me this clip from Tyra Banks from like early 2000s, whenever she had that show, Who Wants to Be a American's Top Model or whatever it was. And there was a girl who was like very attractive, right? And she was like, she was on the thicker side, but I mean like slim thick, not like she's like going into overweight or something. She's just really attractive. She looked like she just had some good legs, right? And they were like, yeah, you're a plus size model. And I'm like, this is wild when you think about that. Because the standard is that everyone be really skinny and anything above that is plus size. So like this girl being considered plus size, I mean, she looks like she's in shape. So her being considered plus size sounds like she's the exact type of person who was in that episode. And I'm just like, well, for an average person just walking around, when I think of plus size, I don't think of a girl that looks like her, right? There's a different image there. So it's so funny how in modeling, how everything is basically skewed a lot more than your average person walking around. But all right, let's keep it going.
Money. I mean, it's a capitalist society. So why have they been kept out before? Because they didn't feel that there was a monetary gain to include them. Now they do. Now they feel the pushback. Now people have the ability to stand up and make their voices heard, and they're hearing people saying that they want to see that representation, that they want to see clothes on models that look like them in stores, not clothes that look like European beauty standard in stores that don't actually give them a realistic picture of what they're going to see. Like people want to feel seen, and they feel seen when they see people that are like them, that they feel that they can relate to. Realize that it's a monetary gain at this point to put that in there. Like, I don't think they're, like you said, it's not that they have empathy. It's that they realize they can make more money and get us to be their better little consumers if they give us a little bit of what we want sometimes.
In royalty times, a lot of the symbols of wealth was bigger people. It's just such a double standard. I don't know when we switched to, you have money, you're skinny. Because if you look at Greek statues, they were thick women. And now we're seeing the complete opposite. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I think that's an interesting topic that we have to consider.
There are also entire stores dedicated to women built like me. I can only find like a bra really that'll fit me at Torrid, which is a plus size women's store, because it's not exactly made for me until I go to a place that is, and I'm like, fine, they'll get my business. And then because they realized that they could capitalize on people who were bigger, and that fashion in general wasn't made for larger bodies, they decided, well, we know where we could put our money into getting fashion and like models that are plus size wearing these clothes too. Just because I'm bigger doesn't mean that I shouldn't also look nice or like spend nice money on my clothes. I also wanted to make a point of the very first thing that was said over here during this prompt is that people that do not go to the gym or have like a healthy lifestyle are lazy. So far from beyond what I actually live. I work a lot. I put a lot of time and energy into the career that I have. And to think that someone can take a look at me from across the room and say she's lazy because of the way that I look is so sad. It's truly so sad, because I work a lot and I do a lot of things that pertain to me, my relationship, and my family, including fostering 2 children. Like, that's crazy that someone would just take a look at me from a glance and say she's lazy. I'm mad at that. It's so sad that society has brought us here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll say this again. I can always. I'm not entirely sure how it has looked like I've come off during the course of the stream when I am referring to this girl in the black hair, but I will say again, I always appreciate her vulnerability. Her vulnerability. Why can I not say this word right now? I appreciate her vulnerability. I don't know why I couldn't say vulnerability. There we go. I don't know why I could. I don't know what just happened to me, but I appreciate that. Like, she's able to talk about how it is that she's really feeling. and really get down to the meat of it. It sometimes makes me sad that when she's saying these things, she's coming from it from a place where it's like she's trying to make it known, where it's like people who are, yeah, you're sleepy. It's fair to say she eats a lot. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I was gonna say, I was gonna say, what makes it sad to me is that it appears like she's always coming from it from a place where she's trying to say, we're like, people that look like me, people are trying to say that we're undeserving of our X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, who is saying that? Right? That's not like, if they are saying that, like, that's terrible. But like, that's not the main takeaway, I think. I think it's about like changing your perspective in areas where you think like you're putting yourself down, insofar as, number one, always living within the frame of what those people who are saying you don't deserve X, Y, and Z are saying. Oh, you don't deserve love because you're big, or you don't deserve this. Like a lot of these things that she's saying, I'm like, why are you coming from it from that angle? I feel like that is not the perspective in which you should be looking at it from. But again, these are different experiences, and different experiences yield different focuses. But I feel like the main issues I have is that in her takeaways, it's always the perspective for how to look at it. Like, it wouldn't be saying that you're lazy in life. It's saying that you're being lazy in one particular area. Now, sometimes, again, like we were talking about earlier, seeing someone who does one thing allows you to kind of like extrapolate, but like you don't really know if they are as disciplined as they appear until you get to know them, right? And so it's just saying this. It's like, hey, you have 2 foster kids. That's great. You have 2 kids. So do I. Me and my wife both train. We find the time. We make the time. We enable the other to have an hour a day to themselves to make sure that they get that time for themselves. This is kind of the thing that I'm always talking about. It's like, it is not necessarily that when people say they don't have time, there are some jobs out there, outliers, that genuinely, like, you're probably kind of screwed, right? But most people have the time. They just are so in their head about what it is they have going on that they feel they don't have the time. But I'm like, more than likely, you can find 30 minutes in a day to take care of yourself. Like, you can do it. Even if it is like going for a walk, or it is like doing some jumping jacks in your backyard, or whatever it might be. There is something that you can do. And this idea that she's talking about of like, I am working hard, I can't do anything else. I'm like, I know you feel that way, but like, I don't buy it. I'm not saying you're lying to us when you say that. I'm saying you are cheating yourself out of a better life by allowing that excuse to be acceptable. Because you can do better if you just try to reframe your perspective and see things a little bit differently. And I talk about this all the time. I'll just say this one last thing and I'll let it play. When I just got married, me and my wife would always talk about like, oh, it'd be great to be able to train together, but we could never find the time. It would be like, because at the time it'd be like, oh, I always train when I come back from work. And like, when I come back from work, it's like, oh, try to go into the gym at 6 or 7, it's too packed. So you got to wait like 2 hours and go in at like 8 or 9. And all these things, after a while, they have a toll. They take a toll on you. They make you not want to go. And then, eventually what starts to happen, you start to gain weight, you start to get more out of shape. And these things start to happen to both of us over time. Now, fast forward, the one thing we never would have realized that we should have been doing the whole time is just waking up earlier and going to the gym before work. We'd have been able to train together. We would have gotten that out of the way. We'd have been in better shape. And now we have kids. That's exactly what we're doing. We make our time and we prioritize it in the morning. That way, the rest of the day and all the other things that would prevent us from being able to do it because we don't have time. We got it out the way, and now we're not making excuses for ourselves. So this is some of the things that I think about when I hear her making as much excuses for why she is where she is. I'm just thinking like, you just got to reframe your mentality a little bit. So, all right, let me stop yapping. Let's let it play for a little bit.
You have to separate those aspects of your life into boxes. Fostering children, I'm lazy. I don't do that. I don't help with that. That's certainly something that someone said to Gabe, you're lazy at that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Working a lot, not making time. I work 14-hour days, and I still manage to go to the gym. I work
Exactly. that's my point. You 30 minutes to an hour, regardless of your work schedule, most people can make it happen, but it's about the mentality. I agree with this brother right here with the brown hat. Let's keep it going.
It'll take a toll on my sleep sometimes, sure, but I have to be willing to take accountability and say, well, I was lazy at this. I think people that don't go to the gym have to be willing to take accountability and say, I was lazy at the gym today. Did I go? Doesn't mean your entire life is lazy. Doesn't mean that it'll take away from those other aspects. But we do have to be willing to take accountability and say, I did these good things. You mentioned earlier I did these things. You have to take accountability and say, I was lazy about my fitness today. The same way you have to take accountability from yourself and say, I was lazy about my other responsibilities today.
But do you think
Wow. I mean, I didn't let that play originally because I was yapping, and then this guy wound up saying exactly what I was saying in a lot fewer words. So kudos to him. Totally agree. Let's keep it going.
Interestingly, do you think when you look at someone and you're like, okay, do you actually sit there and think this person's lazy about the gym or this person's lazy? What do you think in your head?
I guess I really do think gym, but I do see why other people, I mean, like I said earlier, it's a visual representation of who you are as a person.
Yeah, like that one's easier to call out versus like, Gabe, you're pretty lazy fostering kids. Like, how would I ever know that, right?
Exactly, you wouldn't, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't be lazy in those aspects. It doesn't mean that I couldn't be lazy in family time or my other commitments that I talk to people about.
The word fat is offensive. Start by having the people that agree come up now.
All right, let me answer the prompt. The word fat is offensive. I think yes, it is. I think it is based on how it's typically used. I think when we are trying to describe someone who we think is fat, but we don't want to offend them, then we wouldn't say the word fat. It's one of those things where you can argue, you can try your best to say, hey, I'm just being descriptive, or I am trying to state what things are, whatever, way you want to reference it. But I think you also have to, remember, words don't have meanings, they have usages. And so when you use words that are used a certain way and they're used to define certain things, then ultimately you take that into consideration in reference to what word you use at a particular moment in time, right? So is the word fat offensive when you're referring to a person? I think so. Because if I wanted to say someone was overweight, see, I already did it right there, and I'm trying not to be as offensive, I would say overweight, I would say plus size, I'd say so much other words besides fat. If I am addressing them directly. If I am not addressing them directly and I'm just saying, oh, they're a little on the fat side, or you're just talking to yourself or someone else, whatever it might be. If you care about referring to them in a way that does not offend them, you would almost never use the word fat. That's the point I'm getting to. Because I find in my daily life, I don't even use the word fat like that, unless I'm talking about myself. But see, I could go after myself, all right? It don't matter. I could make fun of myself all day long. It is what it is. But if I'm talking about someone else and it's someone else that I don't actually want to offend, I care about how they feel. I care about how I talk about them, talk to them, and I'm cognizant of how they perceive me, I would probably never use that word. So, moral of the story is being is the word fat offensive? Yes, it is. Let's keep it going.
The word fat, what about it makes it offensive to you guys?
It is the word that was ever first used to me to describe me in a negative way as a kid. And that's just kind of always stuck with me. I haven't taken it and twisted it into a positive, or you can describe me as fat and I won't see that as offensive, because I do. The first thing that you should use to describe somebody shouldn't be fat or thin at all. And it again, just sucks that the word fat is used in such a negative connotation that I find it offensive. Absolutely. But thin isn't used in the same way.
It isn't. Yeah, you're saying like if I was fishing, I was like, oh, that's a fat bass. Somebody would be like, heck yeah. Or if I'm like, that's a real thin bass, they'd be like, man, that ain't. But then when it comes to humans, it's the context. It's always given with a negative connotation, huh?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, and what do you think?
Initially, I thought of our humor, and I think as humans, we bond with humor. One of the first because that I heard when I was younger and that we used to say all the time on the bus is, yo, mama's so fat, whatever. And I would be like, before we play this game, y'all better not say that. Because my mom, she's overweight. Everyone in my family is. So I've grown up, that's the immediate target. And those are fighting words. And so I don't think it's just a word. I think it's what surrounds it. And I think as kids, we're automatically taught that we can make jokes out of people. And we can use other people and regardless of their circumstances, other people's looks as a way of leverage to make the room laugh. And I just think that we need to think about humor in a different way, you know?
And it really does just bring me back to my childhood. I realize that this is not therapy, but it brings me back to like the first time someone was ever mean to me on a playground. It was because I was a chunky third grader and they called me fat. And it really did stick with me. It's so incredibly unkind. And today as a society, we have got to be kinder to each other. And it may not be offensive to somebody else, but you should be well aware of your surroundings and who you're speaking to saying that word, because people do use it as humor.
That makes sense. Now we know kind of where we stand with it. I think it's a good time to bring people that disagree up now.
To me personally, I mean, the fact that we can, use the word and call other things fat makes the word itself not offensive. I think we can all agree, depending on how a person uses the word, it can become offensive. And I feel like that can be said
Yeah, context is always everything. But let's keep it going.
for a lot of words out there. But I feel like the fact, like you were saying, you could say a cat's fat, you could say, a lot of things are fat, and that word is not offensive. I feel like it's just the way you use it.
I think, like you said, though, with it being humans, I think there's a difference there because, like you said, people have feelings. And, like me personally, yeah, I don't find it offensive, but I don't find anything offensive. And so that I have to understand is a me thing, not an everyone thing. So I don't use it because I understand that general societal norm is it's offensive. I understand that. But for me personally, it's not. I don't care. If you call me fat, yeah, I probably am. Yeah, I make good food. Shit happens.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I'm kind of in the same place where that guy is, but in how I would have answered the prompt was that then it is offensive. Because I'm like I said, to me, it's not call me fat. I don't care. Like you can call me fat all day. I don't care. I call myself fat. Me and my family, we joke around about it all the time. Oh, I feel like being fat today. We don't care. But do other people feel like that? I'm trying to take it away from myself. Is that how it's perceived? I'm not that's why I would have chosen to say it is offensive. But I agree with him. If I'm talking about if it's just you personally, do you find it offensive? I'm like, no, I don't actually. It depends on what stands out the most when describing someone really. I'd use big or chubby before fat. And you're not fat. Well, I said I feel like being fat today. This is the way we would talk about it. But yeah, no, I take I take the point. I take the point. But yeah, I agree. When you said it depends on what stands out the most when describing someone really. I'd use big or chubby. Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with you. Before I would use the word fat to describe another person, I wouldn't. I think even if I wanted to be offensive, I wouldn't say it. I'd just find another I feel like fat for me when describing anyone besides myself is just a word I would not use. And if I was trying to be offensive, instead of saying the word fat, I would do that. You do those things that people use to describe to create images in your head, right? Where it's just you are exceptionally round today. I don't know. I'm not good at this. Guys, I was never good at the whole, she was talking about your mama jokes and stuff like that. I was never that quick with it, but I have a friend who's really good. Shout out to my best friend. He's really good with jokes like that. He's gonna be on the stream with me one of these days. We're gonna get something going. But that brother right there, he's quick-witted. He's quick-witted with the comebacks. But yeah, anyways, I wouldn't actually call someone fat. I would just use a description. I don't think I would invite you to sit in my car because you might make the bumper scrape against the street. I don't know. I'm not good at this, okay? I tried. But you get what I'm saying. You can fill in the blanks with what I'm saying here. I wouldn't say fat. I would just describe something that would almost oh man, it's reminding me of when Charlemagne had Dank DeMoss on the Breakfast Club, and he kept saying all these. All right, it was like, and I'm not gonna pull up the clip now because then the whole thing is gonna get copyright claimed by the Breakfast Club. But it was like when the Breakfast Club had Dank DeMoss on, and Charlemagne pulled a whole sectional up for her to sit down on. Stuff like that. He didn't say nothing. He just pulled a whole sectional for her to sit down on so that she would be comfortable. So he said something without saying something. That is the way I would approach it. But I would never say the word fat because I just find it to be too offensive. If that makes sense. The big girl. Yeah. This is typically how I might even refer to it. But fat to me, yeah, it is actually very offensive. I wouldn't say it. I don't, and that I find that weird too. I feel like I've never been asked that question, but here we are. All right, let's keep it going.
I know for me, the word fat is not offensive unless it's directed as a slur. For me, I know a lot of fat folks in my sphere like to reclaim the word fat instead
Okay.
of using words like morbid or obese. They prefer the word fat, and I prefer the word fat because it describes what I am, not a category that doctors are putting me in to describe how sick I am. I know that there's a new movement going around in like
Reclaiming the
body
word.
acceptance
Interesting.
sphere that is called categories, and what it describes is the different levels of privilege you have based on how fat you are. And so there's things like small fat, mid fat, super fat, and death fat. And death fat was coined in 2008 to describe folks that are so overweight that they're at risk of dying. And so this is a way that we're reclaiming words such as the word queer, how queer used to be used very derogatory as a slur for LGBTQ folks, but now we're saying and identifying as queer to reclaim that word. So that's how I feel about if it's offensive or not.
I take obese to be more offensive than fat. You know, I can see that. I can see that. I don't know. For me, that just hits a lot harder. Like obese would be like if I were to use the word obese, I'd be describing somebody. Like, yeah, like they were like truly obese. But I feel like if I was saying someone was fat, I would be trying to describe them as being obese in an offensive way. This is just the way I interpret it. That may not make sense, but it's kind of the way I see it. I just find it funny though what she was saying here. It's actually really interesting about like reclaiming the word, but then they have like categories, categories she called it, with death fat being the highest. I was like, yeah, that's actually pretty crazy. But yeah.
I have a question. Can you tell me what category of fat I fit in?
So it's based on your shirt size. So if you are a 1 or 2X, you are small fat. 3 to 4X, you are mid fat. 5 to 6X, you are super.
Someone referred to my mom as obese, and I wanted to scrap. I mean, listen. If they saying it about somebody that if they saying it about one of your people, it's different, right? Like I get it. I understand. But if they said that about anything, like whether they said fat or obese, I feel like scrapping was going to be one. It was going to be immediately appear as one of the options at that point, right? So I get it. I mean, if they want, like, I feel like if they want to offend, then they will offend, right? Like I always say that it's like the context that matters. Like I'm not offended by words alone. I'm offended by what you meant when you said those words, right? So like if you meant to offend me and you meant to kind of get under my skin, then like, all right, you know, it is what it is. A lot of the times I don't give people the satisfaction of that, though, because I'm just like, nah, I can't let you know you got me. But if you got me, you got me, right? But yeah, let's keep it going.
Fat. So that is based on what level of privilege you have in the world. So someone in a small fat category may not struggle getting on an airplane, but someone in a mid fat or super fat may not be able to use even the airplane extender. So that's where that comes in, and like the privilege
Airplane
levels
extender.
of like, what fat means to different people.
You think something interesting, like you said, privilege, right? Like, so if somebody is less fat, then them being able to get onto an airplane is a privilege, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys think of that?
You know, a lot of things in life are privileges, and you know, being overweight. In my opinion, I think that's something you can control yourself. So if you feel like you're deprived of this privilege, you can change yourself to enjoy that privilege.
At death fat, are people? Is this like what I see on shows, like where
Death
people
fat,
can't walk
yeah, that's
or things
wild.
like that?
Typically, it's over a 6X.
Okay.
So it is where people maybe couldn't walk, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't take care of themselves. And so that's where you lose that privilege of being able to care for yourself. And that's why you're in the category of death fat, because you are at risk of dying because of your weight.
I feel like when you see the show, like with people that are quote unquote death fat, do you have any knowledge on how people end up at death fat? Like, is it usually a health thing, or is it? Because I feel like I haven't really seen very many people in my life that are at that. You know, it's just sensationalized. Like, could it be related to trauma, something like that?
Absolutely. I think that for me, I can only speak from my own experience, but the reason why I'm fat is related to trauma, related to medical issues, it's related to mental health struggles, it's related to access, it's related to a lot of different things, and could put me in the category of one day being death fat, but I'm trying my best to like become a better person and like have a better mentality and stuff like that. So yeah, I think anyone one day could end up death fat. It's just these experiences you go through and what type of toll that takes on you.
Part of you has.
I mean, death fat is different, right? Like she was saying 6X. I'm like, when you see those people who are just like 600-700 pounds, like Nah, like most people who are obese aren't there. Like that type of person is an outlier as well. Like that's not normal. Even with the fact that like within our culture we're you know we're largely overweight and all these different things. Death fat is just another level. Most people are not even death fat. So let's keep it going.
So I wonder if we're trying to create a society from Wall-E at times with how easy we make it for people to access things though. Like that's, you say you don't see people that are death fat. Well, that's because now we have DoorDash and Uber Eats and every other service under the sun. A lot of that was accelerated by the pandemic and being forced to stay at home. People can get everything delivered directly to them now. There isn't that requirement to go out and get it. And so you don't see people that much anymore. And a lot of them may make the choice of like, I don't want to go out because, there's that trauma associated with what if XYZ happens when I'm out because of, my size. And then now, that size becomes the center of attention. Because I think when you're talking about how does somebody get to that point, I think the only way you get to that point is if there's some kind of a mental illness happening for some reason, whatever that is. Like you don't get there without having, I would think, almost like a desire to hurt yourself. Been through some kind of trauma that has you feeling unworthy of something, or like that is the way that you cope with things. Like there has to be some kind of underlying something that can push you to that point. I don't think you're going to get to that point unless you are really struggling with something and need professional services. And I think that's we need to just do better with. Period. As a country is professional services for mental health, and I think it helped with a lot of things.
And physical health as well.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, listen, at the point in which you allow yourself to get to death fat, there's a lot, like you got a lot more going on there, and you don't just get there like for fun. You don't just get there making bad choices. Like you got to have a lot more going on in your life to get to death fat. So I agree with him on that. Let's keep it going.
There are folks that may have something like lymphedema where they cannot move, can't get out of the house, or agoraphobia, which is a mental illness, but it's another reason why people just can't get out and can't move, can't go to the doctor or anything like that. So I think all of those are different reasons why people end up in that category.
You mentioned, like, I guess this might not be a term, but the death fit category. You mentioned people that inject themselves, take things to the next level. I mean, that has to be fueled by something similar, right? I mean, if it's on the same parallel, it's just going to a complete other extreme. You think that's maybe people that end up doing things like that and end up suffering, fatalities from that? You think they have something similar trauma-based going on?
Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, but I have heard of the My 600-Pound Life, people like that. Of watching those shows, I've heard people mention it's a mental thing, and you have some mental issue that's driving just to nonstop eating. And yeah, similarly with the over-obsessive fit people, they have body dysmorphia was mentioned. Those things are also really negative when you're pushed to that limit. And yeah, death fit can absolutely be a thing.
I put myself in some risky situations.
I agree, but death fit is less realistic, I think. The death fit that they described is like they're saying like if you're gonna say death fit and you're referring to like the folks who like abuse PEDs, I guess you could say that. But like I guess what I'm thinking is that they need, in order to get to that level, they needed the PEDs to get there. When we're talking about death fat, like you didn't need to be taking an extra drug or anything to get you to be that fat. You just like somehow got there. I mean, maybe I'm focusing on a distinction that doesn't make a difference, and so maybe it doesn't matter. But I don't know. Something about them feel fundamentally different. So I get why like we're trying to make balance and put them on the opposite end of the scales, but I'm not too sure if I'm buying it. Keep it going.
And when you're talking about death fit, I went on multiple steroid cycles to try and, ascertain certain goals, both in attracting the female gaze as well as mainly trying to ascertain certain fitness levels for what I was doing with the military. And it felt like it was, kind of accepted or almost celebrated by the culture. I was doing it at a time where, this was like 2005 to 2007. And so I'm ordering things online from Eastern European places that are, being shipped through mail in weird packaging. And, I'm taking anabolic steroids and I'm taking, different estrogen blockers, and I'm taking histamines and different things to try and cut weight and doing all sorts of things to try and achieve what I thought I needed to achieve. There is a little bit of like maybe a mental thing there of me, having such a desire and such a belief that that's who I needed to be, that I had to, the risks that I was putting my body through were worth it. Like I remember during certain steroid cycles where being in a lift and feeling like I was about to tear the skin on my arm because of the amount of extra pump that I was feeling through the muscles during it. And that's part of why I don't like the gym now, because I have a lot of trauma with the gym of like how much it was like at one point it was threatening my career. Like I had to get to like try and get myself to a place. I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment, so we had a lot of higher expectations, as far as what we had for physical standards. I felt like I had to do this or I'm going to lose my job, and I would rather hurt myself, to keep my job and keep things for my family, because, you're single income earner, 23-year-old parent, 22, I guess, when he was born. You just have to do the things that you have to do. This was all things leading up to when I met my wife. It was all things for me to like initially pass the test. So I got in a program where like I had a 6-month window before I was actually gonna have to pass it. And so then during that 6-month window, that's when I was doing all these things to try and reach this goal at the end to, get through this hurdle, to actually get through all the physical requirements to get there. And yeah, just put myself through a lot of danger because I thought that's what I needed to do.
To kind of go back to that main prompt, when I'm reading.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to him giving a little bit of his backstory there. But that's, I mean, it always seems like that people have some sort of trauma from a bad experience, and then they associate something that would otherwise be good with a negative experience that they had because of why they were doing this thing that is otherwise good. And I find that to be unfortunate. And I guess even me labeling it good, like, yeah, I think it's good because if you're doing it without some of these toxic elements, then the benefits speak for themselves. But, for some people, they have so much baggage associated with it that they just can no longer see it that way. All right, keep it going. We are almost wrapped here.
An ingredients list, and I say trans fat, saturated fat. Nobody stops me and says, whoa, you can't say that. I said the word fat, but nobody, if I say some racial slur, anyone will say, whoa, it's messed up. But if I read those without malice, no problem. I work contract security. Someone comes on to a property they're not supposed to be, and they say, who was it? What's he look like? I say, it was a white dude, fat guy. He's going northeast. Nobody stops me and says, whoa, it's not. You can't say those things. It's just a descriptor. But if I said something like, oh, dude, I hate that guy. What a fat piece. We all know, well, he's intending to hurt that guy. So there's many situations where the word fat has no malice. It doesn't mean anything negative. It's only what we're implying that's negative.
I am satisfied with my body right now. We'll start by having everyone that agrees come up now.
I guess I answer the prompt. I disagree where I'm at right now, but not in like, I disagree only because I think I could be better. And this goes to that earlier conversation we were talking about, which is like, where's the line between like you're being ridiculous and everyone else sees you a certain way versus a standard that you hold for yourself. And by that, I just mean like, kind of like what the guy was talking about earlier when he was like, man, I forgot the taco spot that he mentioned, but for me, I just know like I could be in better shape. Some of my numbers right now are a little higher than they should be. BMI, all these other things, they're on the higher side right now for where I should be for my weight and height. And so when the question is asked, are you good with where you're at right now? Like, I'm generally good. All right. Like I think I find myself to be in a good place. It's still doing okay with Taco John's. There it is. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. Taco John's. What's the name of this guy? What's the name of that place again? But look, I ain't going to Taco John's, right? But like, have I been at home and like you DoorDash when you shouldn't? And you do all these things, like, absolutely. So like I'm at a place right now where to answer the question, how much do I weigh right now? Right now I'm like 230, 234, 235. Okay. And I should be at like 198 or like 200. So that's why when I say I have like 200 pounds to drop, I have like 200 pounds to drop. I did a bodybuilding show years ago and I competed at dehydrated, it was like 188. Hydrated, I was like 193 to 194. I am not saying I need to walk around looking like I'm about to do a competition. But what I'm saying is that like 10 pounds beyond where I was when I was not dehydrated put me at like 200 pounds. And that's where I am at a reasonable body weight for my height. It makes sense. I can fit clothes. I actually, have my abs again. And I feel good. I don't feel like I'm carrying around a lot of extra baggage. Right now, I sometimes feel like I'm carrying around a lot of extra baggage. Granted, I'm still training. I still go for runs. I still am active, and so I'm able to carry it in a way that doesn't make me feel absolutely terrible. But I could be better, and I know that for myself, and I want that for myself. So I will work towards getting to where it is that I need to get to, and will not go to Taco John's. So, all right, let's keep it going. See what they have to say about this.
I mean, I guess the only way I can go about this is just saying, what do you love? Why are you satisfied with your body?
Growing up, with body dysmorphia and only being seen for my body put me through mental turmoil for so long, being obsessed with the idea of being fit or having a big butt or having a small waist. And then I am so blessed to be able to have an open mind and see I'm literally fine right now. I can choose to be happy right now. And if I end up, getting bigger muscles in the future, I'm okay with that. But for right now, I'm happy where I am, and I don't need to be this or to be that to feel satisfied with who I am right now.
Okay. I guess that's a good time to bring in everybody else.
I like what she's coming out. I like her approach and her perspective on it, because I could feel like I'm more or less where she is, but I am choosing to view it the other way, where I'm like, when you say, am I happy right now? I start to think, if I were to pause right now and just chill here for a little bit, would I be happy there? And I guess that's never the case, because if you're always, with the way this whole fitness stuff works, it's like you're always working towards something. So that means that you're never going to actually get there. You just get to a like your current snapshot is either good or like you're either okay with your current snapshot. I think that's probably the best way to put it. So if the question is, are you okay with your current snapshot? Then the answer would be no. I've had better snapshots in the past, and I want to get back to at least one of those better snapshots. But once I'm there, I'm still working towards something else. So, but I appreciate her perspective. I think that's pretty cool. I'm curious to see how everyone else views it, since she's the only one who said she was cool with it. Let's keep it going.
Has there been a point where anybody here was ever satisfied with where their body was, or has it just been a continuous thing forever?
Yeah, for me, it's been a continuous thing. I'm definitely not as fit as I was in the past, but even when I was like in my best shape, I still felt like I could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it could be a bad thing, it could be a good thing. At the same time, I think once you become comfortable in something, that's when you stop improving. And so to me, it's always good to be uncomfortable.
The gift and the
It's
curse.
been a struggle of just always, having issues with how I look, never feeling comfortable in my own skin. I've been super athletic, played all the sports, done the high-end Army things, been able to do crazy stuff. And then I've been really obese. And I don't think at any point in time I was ever happy, but I don't think that it correlated either. I don't think that has anything to do with weight. I think that conversations like this, where we sit down and we force these subjects out, I think these were probably something that were much more common among people years ago, when we didn't have our devices in our hands to be able to talk to each other instantaneously. Like, we actually would sit around and have a drink after dinner and have these conversations and actually go deep on things. And,
Probably since the third grade, I have never been comfortable with my body. And now that I have big girl adult money, I'm doing things to change myself into a way that I think like I will feel my best. And there was never like an appropriate time where this was going to come up, or I thought maybe it would earlier, and I don't want to feel like I'm hiding it from anyone watching. But I've been on a weight loss GLP-1 medication for the last 2 years. I've been on like a semaglutide blend from a med spa here in Omaha, and I've lost 60 pounds. And I am happy with that because I feel better. Like, my back doesn't hurt, which I appreciate. One of the most vulnerable things that someone can talk about is their weight and how it makes you feel. I'm worried that I will never be satisfied. Like, I've done the laser hair removal to get rid of my dark hair. I'm on a weight loss medication to make myself look thinner. Also, it makes me feel better. And like, I pay for these things with my own money that I work very hard for. So it's hard to be on the body acceptance side when I'm so accepting of other people's bodies. Like, just because it's not the first thing I notice about somebody at all. Like, I truly just think that the best things about people are what's on the inside, and I wish I could see that a little bit more in myself. Again, I probably need therapy, but I wanted to be honest with you guys, because I have been losing weight for about 2 years now on a Ozempic blend.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, again, shout out to her. I was saying this earlier. I feel like she has shared a lot, that, and then she even mentioned it too, like, oh, maybe I need therapy. I feel like she's kind of shared a lot of things that almost give off that vibe a lot of the times, but I appreciate her honesty. I appreciate her transparency, and I mean, look, shout out to her. Shout out to her for sure.
And thanks for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting for me because, like you said, like, I will be the first person to accept anyone as they are and not focus on someone's body. But for me, it's not necessarily that I don't love my body or anything like that. It's that I struggle with like the happiness of being happy with my body. I think it's fine for me to accept my body and be neutral without having to be positive about it. So that's where I disagree with that. I feel neutral about my body, and that's okay for me.
I think it's Terry Crews said it best. Happy, never satisfied. I like that mentality personally.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. Kind of where I'm at. All right, let's keep it going.
I've changed my happiness. It doesn't no longer comes from my body, but the work I'm putting in, like, am I at least trying? Am I at least putting effort in? Can I be happy with that? And yeah, I can. Do I make my weight? No, but am I trying? I am trying. So my happiness is more derived from that. Satisfied? No, I'm not satisfied. But I'll also never be satisfied, and I'm okay with that, because I know that's what's going to keep me driving, pushing to achieve more, and I take that aspect to every other aspect of my life too.
This has been another episode of Counterpoint. I want to thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you guys think.
All right, guys. I mean, I wasn't sure if I was going to go through the whole video, but I mean, we got here. Shout out to the content creator Counterpoints. Very, very dope channel. Very, very dope conversations. A lot of the times you wind up finding that it is, like I said, it's like Jubilee, but I guess it's less adversarial by nature. And look, some people like the Jubilee style, and some people don't. I know I enjoy it sometimes, even though they're like really ridiculous with the 1v20s. But you know, I can't react to that on YouTube because they will strike you down from the heavens. So Jubilee does not play with live reactions on their content, but they will let you do a regular video so long as they get to claim any monetization that you would have otherwise made from it. But not monetized on this channel yet, so I do not care. Anyways, again, shout out to the channel. I do have the full video in the description and a link to the channel in the description as well if you want to check out some of their other content without me yapping in the background. Guys, that is it for me today. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Thanks for anyone who decided to pop on through. And that's it for me. That is my perspective. So what's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you have not already, and subscribe, as I got much more content like this on the way. So until next time, YouTube.